A.H. Almaas in his teaching given on April 20th, 2002, for the release of his new book, Spacecruiser Enquiry.
And good evening, everybody. So, I'm supposed to talk a little bit about the new book, which is really about a particular practice that is connected with the work we do. It's the central practice. And we call the practice inquiry. But you also notice that the title of the book is Spacecruiser Enquiry. So it's inquiry, but a particular kind of inquiry. So I was thinking, how to enter into that. And if you look at the book, you see there's so many things in it. So I was thinking of when I first started myself in that direction, which reminds me of time when I was in my early teens. And I was not a particularly spiritual person, at least not consciously. I was not thinking of spiritual things. But what I remember is that being in the midst of a particular environment, culture, and school, there are all kinds of things that impact me at that time. Religion and ideologies and different kind of sciences and researches. And I remember at that time feeling that I couldn't buy most of it. Right, when I looked at religion, sounded interesting, good, but I didn't know, whether it was true or not, about God or whatever. I didn't feel like an atheist, believing there's no such thing. I just felt I didn't really know. And I needed to know before I can say good or yes. So it was my sort of semi-conscious determination that I really wanted to know. I wanted to find out what is the truth that is not a belief, that is not given by other people. What is the truth of reality as it stands on its own? And it wasn't possible to get that by reading about it or hearing about it or studying it in school the way things were being taught. And it's not like a big conscious determination. It's more like looking back at it. I remember it wasn't part of the element of just being a teenager in school at that time, and I was interested in school, that there was a background feeling of wanting to know what is the truth of reality. What is it really? What is really here? What is really there? What is it? What's it about? What I am? What is the world? And people say God, what's that? People say love God. Who said I should? You see, people say union with God. Who said that's for me? You see, people talk about enlightenment. I didn't know there was such a thing or not. So there was this attitude of basically wanting to know or to find out, to directly ascertain what is true. And that, it seems, was that the motivating force behind me choosing to go into the sciences instead of going to the humanities or the arts, because all these seem subjective to me. I wanted something that's not influenced by somebody's mind. So I thought at that time, studying science, what will be a good way to find out what is the truth. And mind you, I was a kid. I wasn't really thinking of ultimate truth or anything like that. It was like a semi-conscious kind of a feeling, and that became important only later on, looking back at it, in some sense, in my mind. So I went into the sciences, and I was very good at them. And that is how I actually came to the United States. I was born in Kuwait, in an old traditional Middle Eastern culture, a culture actually that doesn't exist anymore. So I had a good enough environment and good enough parenting, and I wasn't oppressed or abused or misused. But there were the usual influences, religious, ideological, all kind of thing, cultural. And for some reason, I didn't want to be influenced by them. Of course, I couldn't help but be influenced by them, but I knew I had a desire not to be influenced. I wanted to see and experience independently from that. And so I went to the sciences and came to this country because I went into physics, and at that time, I remember some kind of orientation meeting, so we're going to physics, where can you go for physics? At that time there were two countries that were said the best place in physics, the United States and Germany. And my teacher at that time, who happened to be somebody I liked, who studied in the United States, and he thought, go to the United States, really wonderful there. So I did. That's how it happened. So I came to this country, went to school, and went to the university here in Berkeley. And then I went through usual college and graduate school in physics and mathematics, and only toward the end of my graduate work, when I was working on my dissertation, that it was becoming clear to me that it's like I started to wake up or to become aware that that is not what I really wanted. And I started feeling I didn't want, and by looking around me at all the professors and students, and I saw very clearly at some point, I didn't want to be like that. That is not, for some reason, something opened in my heart, and I recognized from a feeling place that's not the truth I was looking for. That wasn't going to be it. So that's the time I started doing things, going to groups, studying with different people, and reading books, and started interested in spiritual books, and studying with some teachers, doing workshops, and being in groups. And of course, what happens in many of those places, you're given law practices. And I remember the practices that I tried from many traditions. Meditation, prayers, visualization, chanting various different kind of yogic things, and doing them for a while, and I was very earnest, and I think not consciously, but I was unconsciously wanting to find what the truth is. At some point it occurred to me that I was having a hard time. I didn't know how to do those things. I couldn't do them. I couldn't visualize anything. I closed my eyes, I couldn't see anything. When I try to meditate, my back hurts and I can't stop thinking.